Actually, I'm going to watch. I don't know what the original clip is, so I'm watching it from Abba and Preach, which is a pretty cool YouTuber.
So we are reacting
to a reaction.
A reaction.
Of a reaction. All right, let's get into it. All right.
For black women, and they're like, "Yo, listen."
What about the black dating app called Black?
It's funny, I never used that one, bro. But hey, man.
I mean, hey, bro, if you want to date a bunch of Shaniquas, go for it, man.
LaQuisha.
Yeah, like me and Fresh aren't really down with the brown like that. Man. We ain't night riders.
Nah,
so
bro, I'm good.
You know, sometimes if they're, you know, red bone, but like in general, me and Fresh don't dabble in the dark, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
And people lost their mind. And then afterwards, after the backlash, Myron's like, listen, what's wrong with having a preference?
When it comes to dating and your personal preferences, no one bats an eye. When women say I want a man that's 6 feet tall, makes a certain amount of money, blah, 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 those are considered preferences. But if I say, hey, man, I don't date black girls like that. Oh, God.
You hate black women.
How dare you?
You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous.
My mom's black. Your mom's black.
Yeah.
My sister's black. Like, bro, we just have a preference.
It's not the same thing.
That's basically it. And so in that video, they were both seen, in that particular clip, they were both talking about their preferences. And typically, when you are talking about preferences, you don't talk about what you don't want. You talk about what you want.
Correct.
And so they were talking about what they don't want. They don't want Shaniquas. They don't want to deal with black women generally. And so I guess the recoil that they received is that they're basically talking crazy or talking down, or I guess it's a form of, I guess, discrimination, or I guess a prejudice in a sense, because they're of your own skin type. It's just like maybe there's some self-hate in there. If you base some experiences and you project that upon all races, I would say that's an immature mindset to have, or mind state to have, because we've all,
Don't play me.
I'm not trying to play you. I'm really not trying to play you.
I have.
Okay, you've been, okay.
Wow.
I don't know. I promise you, I'm not trying to play. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, but you've been with sisters. It's all good. You know what I mean? It's all good. He good, y'all. He good. But I wouldn't necessarily base one or a couple experiences that I've had with someone on an entire race of people and just say, you know what, I don't date black people just because you had a negative experience with them. Because there's just one bad apple can't spoil it for the whole bunch. Like, you can't let one bad apple ruin something for the entire bunch. Now, I don't think anything that they said was productive. It felt like they were being condescending.
Yes.
It felt like they weren't doing anything that was adding to the conversation, and they were just projecting their hurt and their prejudices and their preferences onto their public. And you have to, like, when you're in positions such as, having a good following, especially if your mind, if you have, your audience is a younger audience. You have a younger audience who is very impressionable on the things that you do. You should be very cautious about the words that you say and the energy that you project, because a lot of people, based on what they said and maybe their experiences, they will allow their preferences paint their narrative, and so they will automatically shun away from like their own kind, their own culture. They're black people. So I don't think that's, responsible. Or it's a good thing. Now, I do feel that everyone everyone has what they like, but just because you have a preference towards something, it doesn't mean you have to demean or you have to talk down to another race just because it's not something that you would be normally around, or that's not your preference. So I'm gonna start with Chris this time. Chris this time. How do you feel about what they said as far as calling them Shaniquas and calling them Keishas, if you want to deal with night riders, And all these terms, when it comes to referencing black women, they're not talking about them in an endearing way. How do you feel about that? And what would be your response to this, this dialogue?
Well, first, you made a really good point earlier, and I wanted to touch on it. You said, typically, when you're talking about preferences, you're talking about what you want, not what you don't want.
Right.
Actually, I would challenge that and say, typically, people talk about what they don't want when they talk about preferences. But they should be talking about what they want, right? Yeah. So there's a culture that, and this is just what I see. Even when I watch women, because I don't really listen to men talk about their preferences, but when I watch women talk about their preferences, they almost always talk about what they don't want. They almost will even start with what they don't want. And it just goes to show you the level of emotional immaturity and, where we are, like how deeply have you thought about this to where when someone asks you what is your preferences, you can only think of the negative. So if I were to ask someone that question, I'm just being 100% honest, it would ring a bell for me if they started with what they don't want. That tells me a lot about you. Yeah. Right? It's a definite flag. And so I just wanted to point that out because that was good, right? So I agree. You can't see, this is so messed up because it's like, why are you even talking about them in the first place if you don't date them? Number one, if you don't date them, then you don't have experience with them, so you shouldn't even be speaking on it. Like, I'm just a proponent of, like, speak on what you know. And if you just simply have a random opinion or whatever about somebody, say, hey, I don't actually know because I don't have experience in this area, but here's what I think, right? It's okay to have random opinions on things where you're not informed. I think it's responsible to just preface your statement. Hey, I don't date, copper women. I don't have any experience with them. But from what I tell, from the outside looking in, from TV, from stereotypes, this is what I see. This is what I interpret. Because what they're talking about the stereotypical black woman. Like, it's super obvious. First of all, I'll say I've never dated a woman that fits that narrative. I have interacted with them, so I know they exist. I'm not saying they don't exist, but my experience with copper women is vastly different from theirs. Like, all of the women that I have dealt with on a serious tip have been intelligent, attractive. They're caring, like they're loving, they're affectionate, like pretty much the opposite of the things they said. So maybe I'm in a bubble. I don't know. I mean, people's personal experiences are their personal experiences. But if you say you don't date these women, how are you even talking about these experiences that you never had? That's what I'm questioning.
So I'm not going to take a bunch of time and just say the things that you guys both already said because I agree, right? Okay. The whole thing is it's negative. There's no reason to even say anything like that. If someone said, hey, is this what you choose to date? I mean, not really. It's just not really my preference, right? It's as simple as that. Right, you don't have to go into, me and Fresh, we don't date the brown, we don't like, come on, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys have a huge following. You know that black people follow you, young ones follow you, and just in general, black women they already have it hard enough, right? They already are.
They're looked at in a particular light. They're painted in a particular way by the masses.
Right.
Like I feel like the stereotypes are often highlighted.
Correct.
When that's actually not the norm that we experience in day to day. And it also depends on your surroundings and the environments that you're in.
There's so much that is going to depend on it's not just black women either. It's all women, but particularly black women, I feel like, that are in the highlight right now, right? With everything going on with social media, with TikTok, with YouTube, everything, they're in the light. And there's so much conversation around black women it's a very interesting time. And as a black man, whether you choose to date them or not, whatever, these are still your people, right? And whether that's your preference, I mean, that is one thing or another. Like, we all have our preferences, right? Yeah. So earlier, because you tried to play me and be like, well, Steve, did you ever?
I didn't try to play you.
You did.
I didn't know.
Okay, that's okay. All right, you didn't know. Well, let me set the record straight.
Set the record straight.
Okay? I have actually now. I don't have a long track record of relationships because each relationship that I enter, it's long term. So I don't have
exactly.
Hold on a second.
Exactly.
Hold on a second. So I don't.
That's why I'm saying.
I know.
I wasn't trying to play you.
I know. Let me just get this out. Right.
Get it out.
So let me just get it out to the world, right? Because maybe other people out there don't know. So, but each one of my relationships, right, an active relationship, has been long term. I've never been in a relationship that was short term. I have been in relationships with more black women than I have with any other race.
What?
Yeah.
that was a normal cough. Maybe I don't know. That was just a regular cough. I wasn't trying to play you. Okay. You had more relationships
with black women.
When?
We didn't run the list of the names.
I'm just okay. Hey, you know what? Hey, it's your story.
I have no reason to lie.
I know. That's why I'm asking when.
Relationships, right? So I'm talking about because
relationships.
Relationships. I'm making it very clear because
relationships are very broad terms.
Okay, well let me make it very clear,
please.
Okay, so I'm talking about a woman that I have said I am with you, you're with me. If you go have sex with another man, you're cheating on me, right? That we're in a relationship.
Unless you agree.
Unless we agree, that's how we're gonna live. But
some people are swingers.
Hey, I mean, I'm saying, right? But to me, that
depend
I'm
on your
talking
playground.
about. I will post you on my Instagram or my Facebook and say, "This is my girl." Right?
Okay.
Relationship.
Okay, so you've been in relationships with more.
I have been in more
relationships with black women than anything else. Yes. I got you. I got you. We out here. So
now, when it comes to dating, right? I mean, now a mixture. There's a mix.
Yeah, you don't. You dib a little dabble.
But here's the thing, right? And this is.